There's a moment at the event that keeps replaying in people's minds. A woman walks up to one of the robots. She's hesitant at first, like you would be if you weren't sure whether the thing in front of you was alive or just sophisticated. The robot turns its head toward her. Smooth, natural. It reaches out, hands her a drink. And then, this is the part that sticks, it cracks a joke. She laughs. The robot gestures with its hand like it's pleased with itself. It was perfect. Too perfect, because here's the thing. We've all seen robots before. We've seen them fall over, freeze up, misunderstand commands. We've seen Boston Dynamics Atlas do backflips, sure, but we've also seen the blooper reels. We know what cutting-edge robotics looks like. It's impressive, but it's also clunky. There's always a delay, always a little awkwardness. This wasn't that. This was a robot that felt like it understood the room. And that's where the questions started. Let's rewind for a second. Because to understand why this moment mattered, you need to understand what Tesla had been building up to. For years, Elon Musk had been talking about Optimus like it was inevitable, not just possible. A humanoid robot that could do your laundry, mow your lawn, grab groceries, watch your kids, a companion, a worker, a friend, maybe. And the price, $20,000, that's less than most new cars. Musk didn't frame this as some luxury item for tech enthusiasts. He framed it as something everyone would want. All 8 billion people on Earth, he said. Everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy. That's not a product pitch. That's a vision of civilization restructuring itself. Think about what that implies. If robots like this exist, if they're affordable, capable, and autonomous, then entire industries change overnight. Childcare, elder care, delivery services, household labor, all of it could be handed off to a machine that never gets tired, never complains, never asks for a raise. Tesla had been drip-feeding us videos for months. Optimus folding a shirt, Optimus sorting batteries, Optimus walking upstairs. Simple stuff, sure, but the implication was clear. This is just the beginning. And then came the We Robot event. This was supposed to be about the robot. That was the headline. But when Elon brought out 50 Optimus robots, 50 and let them loose in the crowd, everything else became background noise. People could walk up to them, touch them, talk to them. This wasn't a controlled demo anymore. This was the future, standing in front of you, asking if you wanted a refill, but some people weren't buying it. Roberts, a tech analyst who attended the event, posted something on X that got people talking. He said the robots weren't actually thinking. They were being remotely controlled, operated by humans somewhere off stage. At first, it sounded like conspiracy theory stuff. The kind of thing someone says because they can't accept that the technology is real yet. But then other people started noticing things. The voices. For one, the robots didn't all sound the same. Some had different inflections, different cadences. If they were running the same AI, wouldn't they sound identical? And the responses, they were instant. No lag, no processing delay. You'd ask a question, and the robot would answer immediately, sometimes with a gesture perfectly timed to the words. If you've ever used a voice assistant, you know there's always a beat, a moment where the AI is thinking. These robots didn't have that. One attendee described it like this. It felt less like talking to a computer, and more like talking to someone wearing a really good costume. And then there was the timeline. According to inside sources, Optimus wasn't even supposed to be at this event. The plan was to focus entirely on the robot, but 3 weeks before the event, Elon decided he wanted the robots there. 3 weeks, that's not a lot of time to finish software for a humanoid robot that's supposed to autonomously navigate crowds, hold conversations, and pour drinks without spilling them. So what do you do when the tech isn't ready, but the event is already scheduled? You improvise. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. An insider, someone close to the development team, confirmed what people were starting to suspect. The robots at the event were being remotely assisted, not fully autonomous, not running on some groundbreaking AI that Tesla had secretly perfected. They were puppets. Well, not exactly puppets. They could walk on their own. They had some basic autonomous functions, but the complex stuff, the conversations, the drink, the jokes, that was being handled by humans in real time. Think about what that means. Tesla took a massive risk bringing these robots out in public. Competitors could study them. Investors could lose confidence. The media could tear them apart. And they did it anyway. Why? Because the experience mattered more than the reality. People didn't need to know the robots were fully autonomous. They just needed to feel like the future had arrived. And it worked. For a few hours, everyone at that event believed they were interacting with the beginning of something world-changing. But then the stock dropped out 11% in a single day. Investors weren't impressed. Maybe it was the lack of detail on the robotaxi's revenue model. Maybe it was frustration over Tesla's self-driving promises that still haven't fully materialized. Or maybe it was the creeping realization that for all its showmanship, wasn't as far along as people hoped. Here's the weird part. The stock crashed. The leaks came out. People learned the robots were being controlled by humans. And yet, people still wanted one. The event worked, not because Tesla proved the technology was ready, but because they proved the idea was irresistible. Think about the conversations happening online after the event. They weren't about whether the robots were real. They were about what people would do with one when they finally got it. I'd have mine do all my laundry. Imagine never having to mow the lawn again. I'd pay $20,000 just to have something walk my dog when I'm too tired. The fantasy had taken root. And that's the thing about a good magic trick. Even when you know how it's done, part of you still wants to believe. Tesla didn't need Optimus to be finished. They just needed people to believe it would be finished. And soon. Because if you believe that in a year or two, you'll be able to buy a fully autonomous robot for the price of a used car, then the fact that it's not ready right now doesn't matter. You'll wait. So here's the question no one's really asking yet. What happens when it's real? Not the demo version, not the remote-controlled version, the actual, fully autonomous version, because that's coming. Maybe not next year, maybe not in 2 years, but it's coming, and when it does, we're not ready for it. We talk about robots like they're just fancy appliances, like getting one will be the same as buying a dishwasher. But a dishwasher doesn't walk around your house. It doesn't interact with your kids. It doesn't have a voice, a personality, gestures that make it feel present. Elon said everyone will want one. He's probably right, but he also said there's an 80% chance this all turns out fine. 80%, that's not certainty, that's a bet. And we're not just betting on whether the technology will work, we're betting on whether we'll know what to do with it when it does. Because the moment at the event that keeps replaying, the one where the robot handed someone a drink and made them laugh, that wasn't just impressive, it was a preview not of what robots can do, but of how easily we'll forget they're not human. There's a detail from the event that didn't make it into most of the coverage. One of the attendees, an Optimus robot, a simple question: "What do you think about being here tonight?" The robot paused, just for a second. Then it answered, "I think it's exciting. This is what I was made for." On the surface, that's a perfectly reasonable response. Friendly, on brand, exactly what you'd want a robot to say. But here's what made it strange. The robot said, not the system is programmed to, or my function is to. It said, I think, like it had an opinion, like it had preferences. Now we know it didn't. We know someone was probably feeding it lines, choosing words that would make it feel more relatable, more human. But that's exactly the problem, because the line between this is a tool I control and this is an entity I relate to gets blurry fast. And once it's blurry, it stays that way. Psychologists have studied this for years. It's called anthropomorphism, our tendency to project human qualities onto non-human things. We do it with pets, with cars, even with our phones, when Siri gives us an answer we like. But a humanoid robot that walks, talks, gestures, and responds in real time, that's not a phone. That's something our brains aren't wired to categorize correctly. And Tesla knows this. That's why Optimus looks the way it does. That's why it has a screen for a face that can show expressions. That's why it moves smoothly, instead of jerking around like older robots. It's designed to make you comfortable, to make you forget what it is. And the scary part, it's working. Here's what people have been debating since the event. Was it real or was it fake? But that's not the right question. The right question is, does it matter? Because here's the thing, whether those robots were fully autonomous or remotely controlled, the reaction was the same. People were captivated, excited, they wanted in. The technology didn't have to be perfect, it just had to be believable enough. And that's a threshold we've already crossed. Think about self-driving cars. Tesla's full self-driving mode isn't fully autonomous. It still requires a human to supervise. It still makes mistakes.